So, after a while of not having any Hunger Games, we have the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. Let's talk about it. Hello everyone, today I'm here to talk about the newest installment of the Hunger Games trilogy, or rather a prequel I shall say, which is the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, of course written by Suzanne Collins. So I'm sure you've all heard of the Hunger Games trilogy, which you can see behind me. So the first book, The Hunger Games right here, released in 2008, and the last book in the trilogy, Mockingjay right here, was released in 2010. And now since we have a decade of no Hunger Games books, we have this one right here, which is a prequel. So I'm going to talk about this book and share with you my spoilery thoughts. I'm going to start with my non-spoiler really quick just to get it out there, but I will be talking about this book in depth. I have a lot to say. This book's going to be very controversial, I guess, in the fact of you're either going to really like it or you're not. That's just my opinion. I think there are some people out there that are going to love this, and there are some people out there that are just going to be like, and I fall in the category. So without going into much depth, without spoilers, this book is a prequel. It is set in the Hunger Games world, obviously. It follows, I can't even pronounce his first name, like Cornelius Snow, just President Snow. Before he was president, he was 18. He was a student at the academy. In the capital, and this year is the 10th Hunger Games, and he is a mentor to a tribute named Lucy Gray, and the book is all about him being a mentor and really about the Hunger Games before they came to be what we saw in the Hunger Games book and trilogy. So that's what this whole kind of book is about. That's all I want to tell you about it. Just know it's kind of a villain origin story, I guess you could say, learning more about Snow, how he came to be the way he is, that we saw him in the original trilogy. And overall, my feelings were not super positive. I'm just going to be fully transparent with you. I was excited for this book because I love the Hunger Games trilogy. I think a lot of us can attest to that. The trilogy is amazing. I think the movie adaptations are amazing, which is saying something because movie adaptations have not been the best lately, especially for YA books, but I was excited for it because any chance to visit a world I've loved, even though as horrible as the world is, I am happy for it. But I was disappointed, I'm not going to lie to you. The overarching question for me with this book is, was it necessary? Does this add to the plot of the original trilogy? Does it add something more to learn? And that's a yes and no, honestly. I don't feel like this book is necessary because we already know the outcome of Snow. We already know how he's going to be. As much as I like villain origin stories, I don't know if this needed to be written. I'm glad it was written because, if anything, it made me really waking up my love for the Hunger Games trilogy. Like I said, it's been a decade since the last book released, and you know, I haven't thought about it a ton. I think about it every now and then, but when this came out, it made me start thinking about Katniss and Peeta in the original trilogy, and I found myself watching clips from the movies and rereading passages, and I was like, oh my gosh, I love this trilogy so much. I remember very vividly reading the first book, The Hunger Games, in bed and being scared to go to sleep at night because it was just such an intense book, and I have an intense love for it. I am grateful for this book in the fact that it woke up my love for Hunger Games again, because it was just kind of laying dormant for a while, and it kind of woke it up and gave it a refresh. I don't know, but I just didn't love this. I will say, and I think a lot of people will probably say, that I would have much preferred a prequel book where it was about Haymitch and his Hunger Games, or Finnick about his Hunger Games, or Joanna and about her Hunger Games. I would have loved to see one of those. And yes, you could make the argument of, well, we already know how they turn out, so what's the point? I think it just would have been more interesting. That's my bottom line. I think it would have been just more into their character, which I think I would have loved. I didn't really want to know about Snow. I didn't really care about learning about Snow. I just don't care because he's just horrible through and through. So yeah, that's my feelings. I had a good time reading this. I will say the pacing is extremely slow, if I'm honest with you. It's broken up into 3 parts. The first 2 parts are relatively okay with pacing, but then you get to the 3rd part and it just takes a dramatic dive with pacing. Like, it is so slow. And in fact, I would say that there didn't really need to be a 3rd part, but then the ending was so abrupt that everything just happened super fast, and I was like, why did we waste so much time with this pacing to end it super abruptly? So I know I'm like going back and forth of my feelings with like saying the pacing was slow, but it was super fast at the end. But that's how it really felt, honestly. Like the last 10 pages, everything just happened like that, and the end was just that. And I was like, Okay, so I just don't know. I do think that there will be a sequel to this book. I'm just honest, because I think regardless, people are going to read it because of the Hunger Games. I will probably read the sequel even though I didn't love this book, because I'm invested in the Hunger Games and I will probably read it. So I don't know what to say about that, but I don't know if it was necessary with this book. Also with the fact that this book is like 500 pages. If we take the trilogy as a whole, The Hunger Games was like 350 pages, which is pretty standard, I'd say a little bit small for a YA fantasy. Then you go to Catching Fire, and Catching Fire was almost 400 pages, so we got a 50-page increase pretty much. And then Mockingjay, I think is the longest. No, it's also at 400 pages. So this was dramatically bigger than all three of the books by 100 pages pretty much. And I don't think it needed to be that. I would have much preferred having 100 pages each in any of these books. So I don't know. So that's my non-spoilery thoughts. For a rating right now, I'm wavering between a 2 and 3 if I'm honest with you. Like, it's like 2 because I really didn't enjoy it. The pacing was really slow. I didn't really care about the characters, and the ending was super abrupt and came out of nowhere. But then 3 on the fact of like, I do love this Hunger Games world and I really am invested in it. So I don't know what to rate it right now. I just finished it yesterday as a filming, so I need some more time to simmer on it. Right now, rating is TBD. So anyway, that's my non-spoiler section. So I have a whole page of notes, and they will probably be out of order and chaotic because that's the way I roll around here. I'm not super organized when it comes to that. So if you have not read this book, do not watch any further, or if you don't really care about spoilers, you can watch. Either way, I will be spoiling this book and probably the original trilogy as well, so just so you know. So this book, like I said, we follow Snow when he's 18 years old, and we really get a whole dissection of Snow as a character, of how he came to be evil and manipulative and cunning and very, you know, decisive with his strategies. And with him, he's 18, and this is kind of like fresh after the war, and his family is not doing so well. Snow is a well-known name. Snow, the name Snow, the family name Snow, brings a lot of prestige, and everybody really loves Snow, but they don't have a lot of money because of the war. They live in this huge apartment that they don't have anything. They can't ever feed themselves. Snow is just lucky that he's going to the academy for free, but he has to really secure a scholarship to go on to like university. Otherwise, he will not have anything to do. Like, he'll have to go to a district, and he doesn't want that because the capital is his home, and he is true to the capital. So he's a senior in his last year of the academy, and it is the 10th Hunger Games, so it's still relatively new. Each like senior is designated to be a mentor to a certain tribute. And Snow gets assigned Lucy Gray, the female tribute from District 12, which is like a lot of parallels to Katniss Everdeen because she's our District 12 girl. So Snow is not happy about this because he thinks District 12 is like just garbage, and he thinks really all the districts are garbage because, like I said, he's a capital boy through and through. So he meets Lucy Gray, but he's immediately enamored because she is a very oddball girl. She sings a lot. She's just very quirky. She's our quintessential quirky girl, and you know, he really comes to like her, maybe have feelings for her, and he really wants to help her because he knows that if he wins this Hunger Game, like that's pretty much guaranteed to get in the university. So he wants to do it. So that is where the book kind of starts, and then we go on to the tributes and them, and the whole, I think the point of this book is really showing how the Hunger Games came to be. Like, they weren't as like technologically advanced, they weren't as like as much of a spectator sport as they were in our trilogy that we've seen in this book. In this book, it's only its 10th year, and a lot of people are still very much opposed to the Hunger Games. They don't like it. Nobody wants to kill kids. What's the, like, you know, they're not happy about it. So there's not a lot of people that really support the Hunger Games, and the whole idea for like Snow's class is to try to get people to watch it, to try to get people to be like, to try to get the Hunger Games to be more appealing to all of the districts. And so Snow comes up with a lot of ideas. Like, I wrote them down because I was like, he came up with the idea of betting. So, you know, when we saw the original trilogy, you know, hey, Mitch was like, you want people to bet on you, you want them to give you food, you know, you want to be known. And Snow decided, hey, why not let people bet, and then they'll get money and that'll get people to watching. So he came up with the idea of that. And he also came up with the idea of like getting sponsors to send you food and drink and things like that, much like we saw in the trilogy. So Snow was really responsible for that, which is just like, I could see the betting part, but him actually being decent and giving people food and drink, that's a surprise. What else did he come up with? I think at the end he decided that, oh yeah, at the end, to make even Hunger Games more motivating for the whole district, is to treat, like if District 12 won, treat the win as if the whole District 12 won. So that's when the Victor's Village was made, where they get their own house and they get a lump sum of money. So like Snow just really wanted, or actually, you know, the people that made the Hunger Games really wanted people to approve of it and join in and watch it and make it mandatory and things like that. So that's that. So talking about, sorry, I'm gonna go all over the place, please forgive me. Talking about Snow as a character. Snow, if you've read the trilogy, is very cunning. He's very manipulative. He is very decisive with him being a villain. Like, he knows what he's gonna do. He's always like 3 steps ahead of you, and he's very methodical. Is that the right word for his choices? And seeing him when he's 18, he's very much the same. So I don't know if I would say this is a villain origin story, because he's still similar to the Snow we've seen many, many years later, much before, after Katniss is born and everything like that. There's a lot of just his thoughts since we follow Snow. He's the protagonist, and it was really hard following him because I think Suzanne Collins definitely wrote him as like, you know, this guy's a villain. He's not a good guy, but people saw Snow as a hero almost. They saw him as a brother, as a best friend. And when you are inside Snow's internal thoughts, you're like, this guy is horrible. Because there was a certain character, Senjay. Oh my gosh, I'm so sad. Like, he trusted Snow with everything, and Snow just could not even stand him. He was just playing him like a fiddle so he can get further along in the capital track. And with any of his friends, like, the one thing about Snow that I could say that very villainous, that I admired the way Suzanne Collins wrote it, because I really thought it was represented him well, is that he, whenever an event would happen, his thought wouldn't be immediately, how can I help? This is wrong. What should I do? His thought was, what can I do so it'll look like I can be like appeasing to everyone else, that I can look like the hero? Because a lot of times the villains, they're charismatic. They know what to say to get you to join them. They know how to sway you. And Snow is perfectly that. He's been that way since he was a teenage. He knows exactly what to do to try to like get people to see him in a certain way, to see him as a hero, when really he's not. He thinks everyone around him is scum. He doesn't really have any friends. People view him as friends and everything, but he doesn't view them as friends. He thinks the districts are garbage. He thinks he just is a capital boy, and that's just that's how it is. And I think that's how he's always been since he was born, because he was born in the capital. So villain origin story, I don't know. It's just really getting a deeper it's really getting a deeper connection, deeper going into Snow's mind, which I don't know. As far as the Hunger Games go, like I said, it's only the 10th year, so it's still very much new. Like, when we see Katniss's Hunger Games, you know, one time she's in the forest, one time she's like in a water type of arena, and things change because the technology has advanced so much. But in the first, you know, years of the Hunger Games, it was still like one arena, and like it was just, that was that, and they had like one camera. You know, in Katniss's time, they had a camera that would follow each tribute around, and they could change the structure of the Hunger Games, like layout. They can make you do certain things, they can release certain things, but in its early years, they couldn't really have any control, you know. In this Hunger Games, there would be cracks and things that the people could go hide in, and they couldn't follow them. They just had to focus like on the main center. So it was very much early and not technology advanced, and just people didn't care about it, you know. And with the trilogy, like especially in districts 1 and 2, the early districts, there are teenagers that are like born and raised to participate in the Hunger Games. Like, that is their sole purpose. That's what they want to do. They've been training for it their whole life. And like, it's like their career path almost, I guess you could say, which is horrible. But back in the day, no kid from any district wanted to be a part of the Hunger Games. So what I found very interesting is that Snow's dad and the headmaster, I forget his name, came up with the ideas of the Hunger Games. Like, they were drunk, they just thought, hey, let's do the worst punishment that no one ever takes seriously. And the dean like realized the next day, like, oh, this is like not good, we should not do this. But little known to him, Snow's dad just went and turned that junk in, and that made the Hunger Games. So Snow has had a part in the Hunger Games ever since its conception, because he is a product of the guy who made Hunger Games. So the headmaster has it out for Snow because his dad has backstabbed and made the Hunger Games when the headmaster really didn't even want it. So it goes to show as well that people in the early times didn't really want the Hunger Games. Like, they weren't as well known and coveted as they are now. And it's just interesting to see how Snow has just twisted the people of every single district in Panem to really love the Hunger Games, other than like the lower districts and things like that. And it's just very interesting because now, like, when it's in its 10th year, nobody likes the Hunger Games. Nobody really supports it. They don't, obviously, they think it's horrible. But anyway, so Snow's dad, you know, made the Hunger Games. Like, wow. Let's talk about Lucy Gray. So Lucy Gray is our District 12 tribute, and I really would have loved a POV from her because I think we got so used to seeing the point of view from somebody actually in the Hunger Games, like Katniss and everything like that. And it was interesting to see the mentor like perspective in the Hunger Games, but I really would have loved to have some chapters with Lucy while she was in the Hunger Games or getting ready for it, or even after, just seeing how she felt. Because they, like, when Katniss and Peeta were in the Hunger Games, as tribute, like, nobody wants to be a tribute, but they were treated pretty good. Like, they got training, they got really good food, they got this huge, like, interview thing, and it's just, you know, it's more advanced. They treat their tributes, like, I guess, decent, which is not even really decent because you're setting them off to die. But it was way, way worse back when Lucy Gray was a tribute because they just threw all of the tributes, like, in a zoo, literally in a zoo habitat, and with chains, and didn't feed them. They had to rely on people coming randomly to feed them. They treated them like animals, like they were just dirt. And it was horrible. It was so horrible to read about. It was horrible to read about Katniss going on Hunger Games, but Lucy Gray, I felt for her so much. She's a musician. She sings a lot. I did like the song Elements because we got to see some songs that we saw in the trilogy. And she was just a very quirky character, but I did really like Lucy Gray. I would have loved to see some chapters by her. Speaking of her and Snow start a relationship. They fall in love pretty much, and Snow is very much possessive in this relationship. Like, she is his girl. No other guy can look at her and things like that. At the end of the book, they plan to run away together because Snow's like, the games, no thank you. I'm not a fan. I want to get away. And then, like, 5 minutes into the trip, he's like, oh, I guess I'm gonna have to live in the woods and, like, forage for food and, like, rely on my senses. Maybe I don't want to do this. Not even like a freaking 2 pages into the trip, he's like, I think this is not a good idea for me. So he immediately is like, and then he finds the murder weapon that helped kind of link him to Sanjay's death, or the rebel's death or whatever. And he's like, oh, this is great. I could just take this and leave and I'll be good to go. It just all happened so easy and so quick, and then he betrayed Lucy so fast. Like a page ago, I'm in love with you, I'm gonna run away with you. Next page, I'm shooting at you. It shows who he is through and through, but still, I was just like, this makes no sense at all, but whatever. We don't know the outcome of Lucy Gray. Is she dead? Is she not? I don't know. I'm sure she's gonna come into play later on in this series. I don't know if it's gonna be a series or not, but she has to, right? Because we don't know her fate. I don't know. And then at the end really annoyed me because, like I said, he changed his mind so fast with loving Lucy Gray, then be like, oh, I don't love you, I want to get out of this, and then shooting her and stuff, like trying to shoot her. And then he gets back and he's like, oh, I'm here. And then like, oh, you're fast tracked, you got accepted to the university. Goes to the university. Oh, you're not going to the university. You are studying under Professor, oh, crap, I forget the game master, or, you know, the person that makes, I don't know, Guam, something like that. I don't know. It begins with a G. And it just all happened so quickly. And the very end is of him like killing the dean pretty much. And the last sentence is Snow always lands on top. And I was just like, the ending, like I didn't mind that he killed the dean. I mean, I did mind, but it shows Snow. That was an interesting plot development. But it just all happened so quickly, and it didn't make any sense because the third part of the book was just so dramatically slow, and then we had that super fast-paced ending. It just came out of nowhere and happened really too conveniently, honestly. Like, anyway, also let's talk about Sanjayas. So Sanjayas is one of Snow's friends. He's a great guy. He's very much against the Hunger Games. He's very loyal to his district and District 2. He doesn't want a part of the Hunger Games. He wants to, you know, help the rebels. He doesn't agree with the Capitol at all. And he confides in Snow a lot about this. And Snow uses it to his advantage. He records him, you know, when Synjace is telling him his plans of like freeing this girl and then running away with some District 12 people to go find another, to go, you know, find better time. And he records him on a Jabberjay, which we talk a lot about Jabberjays and Mockingjays in this book, and Snow has conflicting feelings about it. He's like, I shouldn't have done it, and then he'll be like, no, he deserves that, and he's just a horrible character through and through, and then he pretty much is the responsible for the death of Synjace. And but right before Synjace is hanged, he looks at like Snow and he's like, brother. And like, he died thinking that Snow was still on his side. And that annoyed me so much that Snow just was like, he couldn't even be honest when the dude was about to die. Like, I betrayed you, sorry. No, he's just gonna be manipulative through and through. And then, after his death, Synjace's parents pretty much adopt Snow and treat him like his son. They pay for his apartment, they pay for his food and all this other stuff. And they like pull him in because Synjace always views Snow as a brother, so they'll treat him like their own son. Snow, I mean, oh, it makes me so angry, but I know Suzanne Collin writes well for me to have this much feelings about Snow and how horrible he is, of how much a person truly only cares about themselves. They only want themselves to advance. They only want what's best for them, and they really don't care about any other single person. So this book delivered on that front. This book delivered on me hating Snow even more than I already did. So there's that. Oh my gosh. Anyway, I don't know what else to say about this book. I mean, it's just, like I said, I don't know if it was necessary. I did appreciate it adding to the backstory of the Hunger Games, of how they came to be, that it wasn't always what we saw in the original trilogy. And like I said, I will continue on with this series because I'm going to guess it's going to be a series, but I don't love that it was about Snow. I would have much preferred if they would have made a book about Snow, had it one and done, and then decide, she's like, oh hey, here's a book about Haymitch's time at Hunger Games. Oh hey, here's a book about even freaking Effie. I would read that. I don't know. I would love to hear your thoughts and feelings about this book. Did you think it was necessary? Did you not? Did you find the pacing slow? I would love to hear what you thought about it and things like that, because this is a very long video. Sorry for that. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.